Thank you. City of Anamosa City Council Agenda, regular session, Monday, March 11th, 2024, 6 P M. Anamosa Library Learning Center. 1.0 roll call.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Note note 5 members are present in chambers. 2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
3.0 consent agenda, review and approve. I will read the 4 items listed. Council at that time can make a motion including consent, or they can make a motion on any of the items. Item A, minutes from February 2026, 2024 regular session. Item B, current bills. Item C, liquor licenses. Item D, noise street closure permit application.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Teresa. Council discussion on any of the items.
Was the property damage expense under, I guess on the top of page 3, I think it's under the road use tax section. I had a $709 payment to Fairview Body Shop property damage. What was the?
That was an incident involving a tree limb that had come down and caused damage to a vehicle.
Any other questions from council? Is there any public comment on the items? Benny, would you conduct the roll vote, please?
Albert,
Yes.
James Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes. To approve, carried. 4.0 public hearings, none. 5.0 proclamations, none. 6.0 postponed items. 6.1 resolution 2024-10 proposed vacation and transfer of city street right of way.
So this is being brought back from our last meeting, just looking for clarity on which portion or which property, what part of the property is being included in this. I did include the maps. The first one, the highlighted one, was what was provided by the attorney. The second is just the current beacon map. Just wanted to stress that this is the abstract correctly shows what is reflected on the beacon map. This is not an additional portion. It correctly is shown, but the vacation and transfer documents weren't available to track that. So they are just requesting that this resolution be passed so they could go with the currently reflected property. I guess the point being no additional property. It's all encompassed within that portion that's in the map.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Motion by Rich, second by Dan. Council discussion. Public comment. Benny, please.
James Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion to approve, carried. 6.2 resolution 2024-12. Approving the street name change from Walnut Street to Park Place for that section of Walnut Street from Cherry Street to Park Place.
Again, returning from last session, there's a map in here. I believe it was included in the last packet as well that just shows highlighted in the red, the portion to be changed, the street name to be changed to Park Place. There's also a map here on our tables, I believe was disseminated. Shows that this Park Place that's to the south is actually Park Street, according to Jones County's records. Otherwise, the Walnut Street that goes from Cherry Street to the current Park Place is the portion that was requested to be changed.
Eric Whirling, Police Chief. I spent some time with the GIS coordinator about this issue to make sure I know that the resident at 102 Park Place was concerned about emergency response. So what I found out was that it's not as much the street names that are the issue, it's that the available maps don't have all of the same streets labeled the same way. So whatever we decide tonight, I will go meet with the coordinator. We'll verify what street names should be, and then she can push those out to Apple Maps, Google Maps, Open Maps, all those things. I asked her to look up plats, and the one loose page that I put in front of you, I didn't do it in color. I'm sorry, I was trying to save some money. But this is what we found is most in line with the plats that we could find. So as you can see, Park Place was originally supposed to be an oval with an exit to the north, south, east, and west. And the plats that she referenced up on the top are where we got that information. So the piece from Cherry to Park Place was supposed to be Walnut. And then the street next to it would be Park Street. If we left it as this map shows, I can make sure that all the streets are labeled properly and all those separate maps. I would encourage we leave it with Walnut rather than change it, because right now I have two parallel parts of Park Place that are both Park Place and then a connecting spot. If that's just a horseshoe to Park Place, then so be it. But if we add this portion of Walnut, we've now added another street with the exact same name. I'm afraid that's going to cause more confusion, not less. And specifically, 102, if we leave it as Walnut, then he lives at the corner of Walnut and Park Place. It's an easy space to find. And again, it's not as much about the street names as that the maps, depending on where you look, the maps don't have the right street names. So whatever the council decides tonight, I will go meet with the coordinator. We'll verify that GIS is updated and she can push it out to all of those spaces. And leaving Walnut and Park Street as that map shows doesn't change anybody's address. But it does differentiate them enough that it should make wayfinding easier in that space once all the maps are updated properly.
From the map that you provided, Chief, Park Place, I believe it would be east and west from the intersection of Vine
Mhm.
and West Hickory. As it goes that'd be to the south. Is that street is not open?
So you're talking down around here?
Yes.
Correct. Originally, when this plat was created and this property was developed, it was supposed to be a full oval And that's what those single black lines indicate on that map is where, if they had finished, that's what would have been at that time. Because Park Place would have been just an oval, and that's why the properties on the south side of there, the 202 through 212, that's why they have Park Place addresses, because the south portion of that would have been the narrow side, which is where the address side would be, and that's why it's listed as Park Place. Otherwise, it probably should have been Hickory, the way everything's laid out. But that was the intent when it was first created, as far as we could tell, looking at the plats.
Well, this is a change from what we were talking and thinking about at the previous council meeting.
Whatever council decides, I'll work with the GIS coordinator. We'll update the maps and we'll get it pushed out. Once all the maps agree with each other, the wayfinding should be easier. But that's the issue now, is that some of the maps don't agree. So specifically, there's a something we use in the cars called mock, and that's part of it is so we can figure out where all the cars are in the county for safety things. When you open up mock, you can choose to open up Google Maps, or I think it's called Open Maps or Open Roads, and those two maps have this space marked differently with different roads. So again, whatever is chosen, we'll work with. We just got to make sure that they all agree, and I think that will fix our issues.
Council have an opinion or a preference?
Well, last meeting, we did approve the change of the street name, but of course, we didn't have this information. So I don't know if we approved it at the last meeting. I don't know what we have to do if we don't.
Jeremiah or Penny? Can you-
Well, there was-
Guidance?
Yeah, there was no resolution at the time to change it. So we can, I mean, it is the council's decision. We can leave it as is. And this resolution, I guess, would just die for a lack of passage. Or the council can approve this resolution as it's written, just to go through with this change to that portion of the street. Or any other amendments that would like to be made to the resolution, we could come back again and do something different as well.
It kind of looks like Beacon is even, excuse me, messed up because they say Park Place on that street that's supposed to be Park Street. So the whole thing's confusing.
Well, the resident that was present at the previous meeting, as the ordinance is kind of aligned with what that individual thought it was to be. Is that correct?
Rephrase.
Well, I was thinking the individual thought from Cherry to Park Place at section of Walnut Street, they thought that it was supposed to be Park Place as well.
I believe that's accurate, yes.
So that individual's opinion that had lived there for quite some time somewhat, or it matches with the resolution. Now, Chief Worthing is bringing some additional information. Very much appreciate that for consideration for council to resort almost back to what it was, with the exception of making all this cleaner and getting all the maps to align and support one another. Which is what we really want in the end, is everything to match. For E911 and any other emergency vehicles that would need to respond to the area. So it would be some backtracking in a sense from the previous meeting, if that's what council prefers to do.
Chief, did you say that you had spoken to the homeowner since you come up with this information?
The only thing that I was doing was going in and verifying what was on our maps on that program mock that I was talking about. And I also went in and talked to the GIS coordinator just to find out what the problem was. But the problem, like I said, in my opinion, the problem isn't necessarily the street names. It's that several maps don't agree with each other, which is why I met with the GIS coordinator to find out what should they be or what were they to start with. Or I don't know if we have to start over and rename them, but you as a council, I believe, have the option to pick the names. Whatever this is decided, I'll go help make sure that those changes go into effect and all the maps match.
And the map that was given to us in the packet, not what was on the table today, has Park Place listed in that stretch of road? Is that what it currently has listed?
No. So the pink or red Park Place is the changed version, which would match the resolution if that resolution was passed. What you have in the table here is the way it is currently reflected. That is Walnut Street from Cherry Street to Park Place.
Because there is current signage on Cherry at Walnut. As you're coming into this area with Park Place, there is a current sign there that says Walnut.
Yeah, I drove out there last week after the meeting.
But wasn't that just recently changed?
That was,
Did you
yes.
fix it or put a new one up or something? Everybody's talking about it. I don't
Yeah.
remember
New
what.
sign that had been put up.
It
That
had
is-
been,
Led to
it had been Park Place and then they changed it to Walnut. Well, it looks like there's some cleanup that needs to be done down in that end of town, no matter what. So,
I guess I would wonder if we should postpone this again, but in the meantime, if you can be working with the GIS folks to get, if it's Walnut Street on one map, then we should make it Walnut Street on all of them.
maps.
Because the big concern that I got it from the homeowner was just concern about emergency response,
Mhm.
and I think it's a valid concern, but if it makes more sense to get to Google Maps and GIS, and this has already been Walnut Street throughout, then I don't know that we need to do the resolution, but I don't want to just kill the resolution at this point. I'd like to be able to look at it again if we can't make the changes to make every map consistent.
And I should pass along to the GIS coordinator will make the streets match whatever the council wants for names. Because the GIS coordinator is not in charge of that piece. So you all as a council need to decide what you feel is best as far as names, and then we will make all the maps match whatever that happens to be. But like I said, I think even the GIS map, the way it was, and the maps that we would follow didn't match each other. That's why I inserted myself, because I want to make sure that they do match. So we do get in there, have the right addresses, we can respond more efficiently. So I'll make them match once council decides what you want for names for these streets.
So if you put into, what did you say, mock?
Yep.
If you put in 102 Park Place into mock, where does it take you?
It takes us to the current 102 Park Place. If I use Google Maps, if I sign into Open Road, it has the section that he lives on marked as Vine Street. And it puts 102 somewhere over here. So even in our one program, because the maps in the two options don't match,
So for the E911, we got a problem, no matter what.
and that's why I put myself in this to help fix it, because it's messed up. Again, it's not so much the names. I just want to know what you want for the names, and then I will go make that work. And that's the hard part.
If it's coming up on one map, that's Vine Street, that's at least 100 feet off because of, I mean, it's nowhere close to Vine Street.
I won't lie, it's a mess.
Yeah,
Would it be less confusing if we did stick with the resolution? Because West Walnut Street, where it crosses over Cherry Street. Wouldn't that kind of eliminate a little bit of confusion right there? With Walnut Street in general?
Well, there's nobody on Walnut Street. Because that's Cherry Street.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean? So there's really nobody on that on that
If
street.
you,
well, technically, his front door is on Walnut, on
Cherry Street,
No,
Was it
his front door,
Front door opens to Walnut Street. but the
Opens to
mailbox is
Walnut
actually on
Street.
Park Place.
right?
not Park Place. So that's where some confusion comes in too.
Yep, because the way I understand it, the parcel that 102 is on, the address side is on what's currently marked as Park Place. And that's where the little red dot is. So whether we named it Walnut or Rich Crump Avenue, nobody's address would change because nobody has an address on that portion. So the changing of the name of that street won't affect anybody's address. All I want to do is make sure that whatever we want it to be, we'll make a match. Adding another piece of Park Place, I feel makes it a little more confusing. But again, it's a council's decision. I just wanted to make sure you had the info about what the old plat said. So you can make an informed decision, whatever that happens to be.
But either way we go, there still has to be work done with
Mhm.
changing maps.
Yep. I'm sorry to make this more confusing, but I want to make sure we get it right.
We just want to make sure EMS or the emergency crews get to where they need to get to.
Yeah, exactly.
Fast.
Well, I guess council at this point. Let's just make a decision. And then the downstream reaction
Yep.
will follow.
Yep.
I know that sounds very easy. But that's basically with what you're faced. I can see both sides of this being. One could debate which side is cleaner than the other. Having that extra leg of Park Place. Yeah, it doesn't look real promising when you could have a full circle with one leg of it. And then to eliminate the Walnut Street section after it crosses over Cherry Street, one could say, yeah, that makes that cleaner. But I'm not telling you something you guys don't see in front of you.
Well, to bring it to a vote, I'll move for the resolution to be voted on.
I'll second.
Motion by Todd, second by Dan. To move forward with the resolution as it is on the agenda. Further discussion, council. Public comment? Penny, would you please conduct a roll vote?
Tukin,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve, carried. Chief, you will hand this ball off to you. Thank you. Should I, are you all right with Chief taking the ball and running with it now?
Sure.
7.0 council action items. 7.1 resolution 2024-13, approving the hiring and salary of a full-time police officer.
I think pretty standard here. This is just a replacement for Officer McMurrin, who departed last year. Some of this was just a slight delay in timing due to the transition throughout the city. But this, as you all know, the process to fill a law enforcement position is somewhat lengthy. So it's kind of the timing came around the time when Chief Whirling came along, and we wanted him to have an opportunity to make a decision on this. So that's kind of the reason, or part of the reason for some of the delay. But a candidate has been selected, Mr. Christie. I think we're kind of just waiting on figuring out some training academy dates for his actual start date.
Make the motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Dan, second by Todd. Council discussion.
And if we're putting them through the academy, is it 2 years, 3 years for payback on training?
Well,
Because I know we've done it in the past.
yeah, now that you put me on the spot, I'm trying to remember we've done it differently in the past, I think, but I can't recall. Chief, what did you have in mind?
The last couple of times I've sent, obviously not at this department, but I've sent people to the academy. They've chopped it up into either thirds or quarters. So every year that you work, that one's done. So if you stay for 3 years, academy's paid off, or 4. And that's just a general contract that we can have the city attorney work on. It's whatever direction the council would like to see about 3 years or 4. I think that's fairly standard. I haven't seen a lot of 2-year ones. If we do stretch it out to 4 and they stay the whole time, we get some more longevity out of them. So,
Well, I think we need to see what we've done in the past.
I want to say 3, but I can't recall
Okay.
tonight. But
Anything else? So the motion is for hiring of Mr. Christie. It did not contain any terms of what we had just wrapped up in discussion. Penny?
Yes.
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 There's your full crew once we get the details worked out there.
thank you. The hire date, I will send it to Jeremiah when we have it. We're trying to figure out if it makes more sense to send Mr. Christie to the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in Johnston or go through the Cedar Rapids Academy. Different reasons for each one, and it'll also depend on start dates. So once we get that hammered out, I will provide that.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
7.2, resolution 2024-14, setting the date for the required property tax public hearing for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
This is the big first step in the new budget process. Due to House File 718, we are required to have this proposed property tax public hearing, and scheduled it for 5:30 on March 25th. That's kind of the big first step. Make sure we get that passed and
Move to approve.
Second.
I think Teresa beat you to it, Todd, so I'm gonna go with that. Motion by Rich, second by Teresa. Any council discussion? Public comment? Just know, if you're looking to have that started 5:30, that means it's the night of the council meeting. That we will need to be present at 5:30.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 7.3, resolution 2024-15. Approving purchase agreement for the sale and convenience of parcel 2010-69. A part of lot 15, Anamosa Commercial Park, second edition, Anamosa, Iowa. Also identified as auditor's parcel number 0535476009.
This was the matter, it was in a public hearing on February 12th. The documents that I included in here, I believe were all included in the last, in the public hearing. This is just finalizing that matter. I believe the last resolution stated, it would come back before the council for final approval. We have sent it to the city attorney for review. He just sent an email back indicating if the council wants to continue with that, authorize the mayor to go ahead and sign the attached agreements. And I believe the amendments, there's a couple amendments that had to change the dates just because of the length of time that it was to get between two government entities to make this happen.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Rich, second by Dan. Council discussion? Public comment?
Heather Oswegen, with, I am the representative for the buyer. There's one additional amendment that I didn't get to you after the city attorney email. I do have it in my possession here tonight. If you want to look at it, but again, it's just bringing things in so that contractually the deadlines are, for instance, it says deadline for full written acceptance would be by this Friday, end of business, and kind of nailing down those contingency release dates. So everything is good and solid. So I would like for that to be included if that is acceptable. And again, I can pass it around if you need.
The resolution itself, just, there were a couple amendments, so it just generally says amendments. We could pass this and go ahead and do that if the council's okay with that. Upon review, I can just make sure that the amendment aligns with the rest. That seems fit.
Rich, you made the motion. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with pending review by Jeremiah.
Dan, you second. Are you
Right.
still good?
Yep.
All right. So with that addition or that comment, also any other discussion before we go to vote with this? Benny?
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 7.4, resolution 2024-16. Adopting the required policies for CDBG funding flow EQ project.
I don't have a lot of additional details on this. This was sent to us by ECOG, reference the flow by ECOG, is that correct? Yes. Reference the flow EQ project. There's three agenda items here. They are all related to that project. I believe we've seen similar in the past. And those services and the policies are in there. If there's any questions, I can attempt to answer those.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Benny?
Albert,
Yes.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve carried. 7.5, resolution 2024-17, adopting the CDBG required policies on the prohibition of the use of excessive force flow EQ project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment.
Tom Durgan, downtown property owner. Can I just get a brief explanation of what prohibition of the use of excessive force flow EQ is?
So it's a single page document. This is the first I've seen this, but it does specify that the city of Anamosa endorses a policy prohibiting the use of excessive force, informing all law enforcement agencies within a jurisdiction of its policy. Essentially, it is prohibition of using excessive force against any individuals engaged in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations as a part of the federal funding requirements.
I was a little confused there.
Any other comment? Benny?
Tom,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried. 7.6, review and approve contract for CDBG services flow EQ project.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Brooke. Council discussion. Public comment. Benny?
Albert,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve carried. 7.7, review and approve reappointing Doug Edel to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, no,
Move to
nothing,
approve.
nothing in the packet for this.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment. Penny?
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve carried. 7.8, review and approve change order from Pierce Tobin Construction in the amount of $36,295.26 for the Second Street lift, station project.
Nick Eisenbacher, Snyder Associates. So we're doing the construction administration on this for the city. I guess I had sent out a memo to you guys with some details on it. Do you guys have any specific questions? I can just kind of go through it, however you wish to proceed on that one. So the first change order is for some traffic control along Third Street for their bore pits. The big one specifically with the temporary barrier walls. They're, because of some of the depths of their bore pits, they are requesting those as they were not specifically called out in our plans. They feel those are an added safety measure that they would like for both traffic and their workers. Change order 2 is some adjustments to the sub-base modifications over here at Second and Lynn due to finding what the existing conditions are instead of what we had in our plans. Our original plans had 12 inches of modified sub-base, but based on some of our what Pierce Tobin
when they removed the existing street, they found there was only 6 inches, so it didn't make any sense to keep the 12 inches that we had originally specified. They're also requesting some payment for some temporary concrete patching due to winter shutdown. They weren't able to kind of finish up that work for the snow. The weather changed on them. Also included in that is the remove and replacement of 2 storm sewer intakes over here in front of the lift station on Second Street during removal of the concrete patch there. Those were found to be in poor condition. And after talking with Steve and the Public Works Department, they were okay with removing and replacing those. Change order 4 is the removal of some work over here, actually in front of the library, after the project was bid and that portion was televised, and it was discovered that that was newer pipe materials that was never recorded by the city. So we didn't know that it was had been removed and replaced already. So that is just simply removing that from the project. Change order 5A is adjusting the installation method of the sanitary sewer over here in the open field from trenchless pipe bursting to open cut, because we're not going underneath the road here on First Street. There's no need to switch there. Did you use the trenchless pipe bursting? There is a ad for that one though. I can't remember if that's on 5A or 6. Since we're not removing, replacing the manhole, they have to have a connection to connect the new pipe into the existing manhole. So there is a little bit of an add back into that T-duct but for the most part, it's a cheaper method to go with a open cut installation than it is to keep that as a pipe bursting. 6. So 6 is in front of the nursing home on Rosemary. They ran into cobblestone and limestone there that we did not know about. They are asking to adjust the unit price for the trenchless installation method in part 6. And then they're requesting additional days for potholing for the existing force main and utilities. We did try to locate that via several different informational sources, and nobody seemed to know exactly where it was. And there was concern with if they were to bore through that force main before they were able to make the connection with the new force main, that there could be issues with that. And then change order 7 is due to the cobble and limestone. They are requesting switching from a trenchless installation method to a trench installation method to make going through the rock and limestone easier.
Question on that. Change order number 2, the going from 12 inches thickness to 6 inches thickness. I don't know anything about road construction, so I will ask the dumb question. Originally the contract sounded like it called for a 12-inch base.
Yep.
And now we're moving it back to a 6-inch space to match up.
Match the existing, correct?
So I guess my first question is, what would the benefit have been? Or what would the reason have been for a 12-inch base originally in the proposed contract?
An assumption based off of information that we had.
So it doesn't have anything to do with maintaining the quality of the structure if we reduce it from 12 inches to a 6-inch.
No.
Thank you.
On change order number 5, Nick, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding. To me, pipe bursting would be cheaper than open cut. Correct.
In most situations, yes.
Are they saying they can't do it or?
They can, but so some of it has to do with some of the bore pits that they were gonna have that they no longer need. Because they're not removing and replacing two manholes. And so that I think there's some costs there that would make that line, that bore pipe bursting that part cheaper. They are switching materials too. So with the open cut, you're gonna get a ductile iron pipe with nitrile gaskets, which since is probably a potentially a better option longer term. Not that HDPE is a bad option.
Is there a drastic cost between the two?
Right now ductile has been more expensive, but it's cheaper for them to do it from an installation standpoint. So the materials, so when you're looking at if you were to break the 2 unit prices out, the ductile iron pipe is probably a higher percentage of that unit cost than the HDPE, but the installation method is going to be a higher portion of that when you go to trenchless.
And I guess my other question is, typically don't we do borings in projects like this just to determine what's below grade?
Yes, in this instance, since we okay, so are you referring specifically to the part by Rosemary? Yeah, so there's already existing force mains there that we did 2007, 2008, and at that point there was no rock or cobblestone, that they didn't find anything there. We had no reason to believe there would be. I know Pierce Tobin called and talked to the boring contractor that did it back then, and they had no records or there was no, that we had no information that would dictate that or indicate there would be any rock or limestone.
It's been a while, but if I remember right, when we bored from Second Street down to the plant, they didn't really have any issues at all. So I'm kind of questioning if we can do it that way, why can't we do it the other way?
I mean, there are pictures of what they ran into. They did find it. They were pulling it out.
That's fine. Steve Agnes, Utility Superintendent. I was there when they was doing that. And they was pulling the rock out like this, that they did not know was there. The original bit that they had kept wearing the teeth off. So Pierce Tobin went and bought a $40,000 bit to go through the rock. So to me, it makes more sense just to let them finish that section, just let them dig it out and be done with it. It'll save time, it'll be faster. In my opinion.
So what would have changed from 2008 to now? Excuse me. What would have changed?
Some of it is alignment. So in order to avoid the existing force main, we went a little to the south, a little south of it, and then we did go a little deeper. But they found the existing one at around 6, and they ended up being around 8 feet. So somewhere in that 2 feet and 10 or 15 feet over, they started to find cobble and limestone.
How deep were they on there?
Somewhere I think they're around 8 feet, if I remember right.
Around 8 feet.
So
Because we did that, if I remember right, 15 feet, we went under all the other utilities. It's been tear streets up.
So I heard you correctly, there's in a sense, a bundle of 7 change orders you just went through.
that's correct.
One of those was a credit.
Yeah, so
Or is
Change
more than
change-
one gonna be a credit?
So change order, it's listed as PC 04. That's an entire credit. So that's for the work right out here that we don't need. And then as a part of PC 05A, there is a credit to remove the trenchless, but then you add back then the open cut trench.
So in a sense, five or
And there
two
is,
credits and five additional expenses that are, the five expenses are going total 36,295.26.
that's correct.
What my understanding is initially, Pierce Tobin came in and requested change orders totaling 34,761. What's the reason for the difference in those two amounts?
I guess I'm not sure.
This, I believe, would have been reference, an email between myself and you, the breakdown of kind of, Pierce's original change order cost.
Oh,
I think it was
okay.
34,000.
Okay, well, I guess I'd have to probably dig down to what that difference now, it sounds like it's the like $1,500 change order that's a part of PC 05A, the $1,500 ad, that's for the changing from trenchless to open cut. So I believe I'd have to verify for sure, going back to the emails, but based on the two costs, that kind of seems what it is. And for that PC 05A, if the city did not want to change it to open cut, they would still be requesting a change order to add in a pit for to make the connection at the existing manhole. That cost was lumped into one of the manhole installation costs that they're taking out of the project.
Yeah. And one of the change order requests as far as an expenditure on the city's portion of this. I just took some quick notes. Pad winter shutdown.
Mhm.
It's a pretty good winter to be working outside. Could you give an explanation as to why now they were not able to complete in a winter that most would want to have if they're working in that environment?
It had to do with concrete patching. So even if the winter is mild, if we're still under a certain temperature, you can't pour, you can. There are ways to pour concrete in the winter, but it's very expensive and time consuming. It requires a lot of heating and additional expenditures so this would actually be a cheaper option to pour temporary patch than to go through the effort of.
Yeah, in my mind, when you talk about temporary, was just something in an interim. Maybe to keep things clean. I wasn't thinking the route that it's actually necessary for it.
It was the patch that's up on Third Street, Third and Lynn, out in the middle of Third Street. That's where it was. Because when they did stop, the temperatures were getting too cold that the bore rigs they'd have to haul them someplace and keep them inside. Then they'd have to have the extra cost to put the antifreeze in the water solution. So that's why they stopped.
Makes sense. Finally, then could you recap the first change order?
The traffic control stuff.
There was. I just misunderstood it.
There was a previous change order that I think that was taken care of last fall for some stormwater sewer stuff. So I guess I don't know if you're referencing this one or.
I guess initially when you mentioned it, I was like, why are we on the hook for that? It was something that was overlooked or an oversight You know, it wasn't on the city's behalf, but again, maybe I misunderstood you.
Do you want me to go over? I guess I'm sorry.
I mean, the traffic control. If that's what it was, it makes sense.
Okay.
Any other questions, council? Entertain a motion to move forward with the change orders.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Further council discussion? Public comment?
I guess I would have a question. Who authorizes change orders in the field? Does it have to go to the city manager? Or who makes that determination?
I think it depends on what the change order is for. I know there's been cases in the past where if it's something crucial to continuing, or urgency is a factor. We have in the past, I can't recall any circumstances as I've been doing this, but I know we've approved them in the past, brought them to council shortly thereafter. There's been some negative repercussions of doing that though, so I believe we've talked about that in the past of being cautious to avoid doing that whenever possible. Otherwise, yes, they generally go through the particular departments, then to myself to bring to the council for approval before we continue. But though I believe in this circumstance, that's a good point. So Pierce has kind of been on hold, has not been able to continue until this meeting and this is approved, so.
I would just make the suggestion that any big change orders go to you first and then to council.
Any other questions, comments? Penny, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Tukin,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve here. This will cover all change orders for the project.
We still have some work to do, so, but knock on wood, yes.
Let's knock real hard. 7.9, review and approve consent agenda pay request totaling $115,499.75. I will read the 4 items and council can make a motion to include consent, or they can individualize any or bundle any. A, from HR Green in the amount of $2,228.50 for cemetery GIS services. Item B, from HR Green in the amount of $575 for water GIS services. Item C, from Martin Garner Architecture in the amount of $4,714.50 for the Phase 2 downtown revitalization project. Item D, from Pierce Tobin in the amount of $107,981.75 for the Second Street Lift Station project.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Teresa. Council discussion. Public comment. Penny?
Weimer,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
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 Motion to approve carried. 8.0 city administrators report.
Several things here, nothing significant to note. Had some training opportunities for the excavator, with streets department employees recently. We had, a few different employees from both streets and utilities. They attended a flood, it was a levy training, I believe it was, is that correct? In Macokota. The fiscal year 25 budget has been submitted to the county auditor. That portion of that is what I sent to the council, which will go into that public hearing property tax notice. ECOG did say, contact me recently. They are beginning their comprehensive plan, so we'll start getting into discussions about that here shortly. And I was also notified by HR Green, Melissa couldn't be here tonight, but we will be likely receiving the entire 315,000 for Third Street Sidewalk project. I think that was 115,000 through the HSIP and 200,000 through the TAP, or it may have been the opposite. So that's all good news.
That's a form of financial assistance.
Yes, correct.
Jeremiah,
That's it.
council have any questions, directions, or comments for Jeremiah? Thanks for that report. 9.0 Mayor and Council report. 9.1 Mayor's report. I have none at this time. 9.2 Council reports.
The pickleball court has a paved approach to it now, so it's not gravel. The bouncy house event at the LCC over the weekend had over 200 kids, so they made some money off of that. Yeah, and the Easter egg hunt is set for Saturday the 30th at 9 a.m. at the pool.
Good report. Thank you, Teresa. 10.0 Public comment for items not on the agenda.
Tom Durgan, downtown property owner. A while back, I voiced my concern. I just seen all the CBD stuff on here. I wanted to voice my concern again about taking care of our property, because there's two buildings on each side of our property that once again, we stuck a lot of our personal time and money into. After I believe it was the next day after I voiced my concern, I talked with John from Tricon. Well, then obviously they did not get this job. But I have since talked to 4 individuals from, what company is it?
Peak Construction, I believe.
Yeah. And talked to them, and they seem like they're willing to take care of my property and be careful around it. But like I said, once again, I just want to voice my concern of my property. And also, I think we're at that time of year that we need to shut that shade, because Todd's going to get sunburn in his eyes. You find that sun pretty hard over there. Thank you.
Other public comment? 11.0 adjournment. This evening's meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everyone being in attendance.